Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And boy, oh boy, do we have a fun Hot Gossip Unpopular Sauce episode for you today. We have some very exciting special guests on this episode that we will introduce in just a second. But first, we just have a couple things to go over and address on our episode with you guys.
Yes, Patreon. We have 2 tier options that you can join. The Like, which is literature's kind of exciting tier, where you can get access to ad-free episodes, a gratitude shout-out, access to book club episodes where we're currently going over the Caraval series. It's been a blast. Ooh. Bonus content and a private Discord channel. But then there's a level up. You could do the Love tier, which is literature only, very exciting. Where you would have access to everything I just said, but also voting privileges and live virtual book clubs at the end of every book that we do. And then discounted merch when we come out with it in the future. So join Patreon, super fun, lots over there.
And don't forget to follow us on all the socials and YouTube. We're at L.A.M.E Book Club Pod on just about everything. And if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be amazing. We love to read them. So thank you so much for everyone being here.
Before we jump in, I want to take a second to give a quick content warning. This episode will be all over the place, I promise you, but we will also be talking about all of SJM's works, books, series, everything, all 15, everything, and even possibly some interviews. So who knows, do with that what you will. If you haven't read everything, maybe skip this episode and come back, but if you have, it is fair game. So you've been warned.
Well, like Ellie mentioned, we will be talking all concepts from her books because we are going to deep dive our 3 favorite SJM books, characters, and series theories. Oh, I didn't realize when I wrote that out how much of a tongue twister that would be. Series theories.
Gotta get our warm-ups in, right, with the tongue twisters.
Exactly. I should have done, practice. But anyways, with some new and seasoned friends. And so without further ado, we mentioned that we were going to have some special guests today, and boy, were we telling the truth. Back from just a few weeks ago, we have our favorite sassy writer who moonlights as the Crone, Daniel Alexander.
Hey, guys.
And we're also super excited to be joined by none other than the Fantasy Fangirls live and in the flesh, Lexi and Nicole.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course, we're very excited that everyone can be here. This is going to be so much fun with 5 people. So we are going to do our best to keep it as organized as possible. But there's 5 of us, and you're just going to have to know that going into it.
An hour and a half of us talking over each other the whole time.
It's going to be a lot longer than an hour and a half.
But before we jump in, really, honestly, I just want to thank you guys, all 3 of you, for joining us today. It really does mean a lot to us, and we're very, very excited to nerd out and talk lore and theories, and honestly, just fae men. Let's be real. So,
yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that made my day already.
Scare you?
No, that was perfect. That was amazing. Oh my god.
Talking about our 3 favorite characters, and I have one in particular, and then everybody else.
Yeah.
If any of them were Ethan, I'm leaving.
No.
I had such a hard time picking 3, and so I might say more than that. I'm just saying it right now, but I'll do my best to keep it to 3. There's just too many yummy men in this series, and fantastic. No, it's true. And amazing women, but we'll get into it. Anyways, I know I said this offline, but I'm saying it again for everyone in our fan base. We are big fans of Disney, SpongeBob, Marvel, and The Office references, so please feel free to add those whenever you feel necessary. It is not just encouraged, but required. So with that, Ellie, would you like to kick us off with your 3 favorite SJM books and characters and your why behind them?
Yes, I'm ready. Okay. 3 favorite books. I would be genuinely shaken to my core if this is not everybody's top, but it is, of course, A Court of Mist and Fury.
Yep.
Followed
Naturally.
closely by, not even closely, I'd say at an even, a good distance by House of Earth and Blood, and then Heir of Fire.
Ooh,
and
good choices.
Thank you. House of Earth and Blood, I just loved the very rewarding ending. Honestly, I felt like it was a battle to get there, but it was so worth it. And for me, That's like all I remember about it now, so it stays at the top. And then Heir of Fire for obvious reasons. I love the comeback kid, so it was just great. And that's that. My 3 favorite characters.
I'm really
Yes, did you have
glad
a
that
question?
you. No, I don't have a question. I have a statement, as per usual. I am glad that you pointed out that it was a journey to get there with Earth and Blood, because when I saw this was on your favorites, I was a little shocked. But that makes sense, because I agree, it really is the only thing I think of. But man, we did have to work for it.
What it was, I think, is the whole time I was reading that, I was like, this is the worst book I've ever read.
What?
And then the end 180'd me so hard that I could not get over how much I was like, I don't think I've ever gone in and been like, I hate this so much, to I love this so much, that it had to stay at the top.
Well, now
Nothing's done that to me. Yes.
My question is, what do you consider the end? Because some people consider the end like Bryce doing the drop with Danica, or is it her vacuuming up the Archangel? Like,
It's-
I
it's-
say all of it. Like the
all
whole
of it.
last
Yes.
quarter of the
Yeah.
book is just like, it
Yes.
literally gives me chills even just thinking about it. Like, I almost
like
put that
the
as one
last
of my
150 pages to 200. Yes, exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah. I vividly, because I'm a big Kindle girly, so I go by percentages most of the time, and I vividly remember at the 70% mark is when it changed for me. Like, that's when that book got really good.
Yeah. I feel like a book's either like consistently good to great or like bad to worse. But this was like not my favorite to, oh my gosh, I love this so much. So really did a, what do they call that? An Uno reverse. And then my 3 favorite characters are, of course, Rhys, pre-Akasif, Aelin. And then this is like what's the cake thing?
Hear me
Everyone's doing
out.
that.
Oh, hear me out. Yes.
This is my hear me out cake. I think it's Therian, and Daniel, don't hate me. I think it's Therian.
I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that, please.
Yes, please.
I am open to your reason, and please
can't.
elaborate.
It's all vibes. It's all vibes. I think it's the tail. I don't know. It's something I like.
I didn't realize you had a tail. Did I miss that?
Well, he's a merman.
He's a mermaid. Well, yeah, okay. I realized that. Never mind.
No,
Only in
actually,
the water.
That was the best defense you could
That's
say.
so true.
and that's the only one I have. So
No, monster
He has
puppets
a
are valid.
tail.
I stand by it.
That's
all right,
amazing.
someone else go.
Wow. I don't know how I'm going to follow that up. So my first top 2 are also A Code of Mist and Fury. Again, very, very high. That was the book that transformed my reading journey as an
Yes.
adult. And it's literally one of the reasons Fantasy Fangirls exists. Then I also put House of Earth and Blood. However, different from Ellie, I was hooked the second Danica and the Pack were murdered. I actually really don't, I won't say I like, but I will say I'm very indifferent to urban fantasy, and I found myself really falling into a rhythm with it. I also think everyone talked up Earth and Blood to be like the most intense mind working thing you're ever going to read. You're never going to understand what was going on, to the point where I was like, am I intelligent? Am I so smart? So I think I also like had a little bit of just I feel like it was just not built up to the
It's a boost.
it was a boost. It was a little bit of a boost. It wasn't built up to the level of intensity, and I really enjoyed understanding what was going on. And then the ending just absolutely crushed me. Like, it was just in a good way. And then I'm totally cheating because I can't pick a number 3. I'm picking a number 3.1.2.3. So it's a tie between Nicole and our decimal points. It's like a running joke. At least I'm not doing stair math on this right now, Lexi. It's a tie between Queen of Shadows, House of Sky and Breath, and A Court of Silver Flames. But A Court of Silver Flames, like, it's mainly one of the reasons I think that one's so high is because we're deep diving it right now, and we're like
That's
deep
exactly
in
why I
Nesta's
have it on
journey.
one of my top 3. Yeah.
Well, and like
The law of recency.
the law of recency is definitely holding a lot right there. But Queen of Shadows, because like that is just I really like Throne of Glass, but on my list of Maas first, Throne of Glass is my last. And that's honestly like not saying much because they're all so good. But
Yeah,
Queen of
that's true.
Shadows
Melissa's face.
I'm so sorry. Queen of Shadows is definitely the one that really stands above all else for me.
Yeah.
Sky and Breath, that ending wrecked me to my core. I also just love Crescent City, so that was really easy to be in. And then Silver Flames for the reasons I just mentioned. And
I am so glad that. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm glad
go
that you are giving Sky and Breath the credit that it deserves. I love that book, and I feel like everyone's like, "Oh, Earth and Blood was great," and then it went downhill from there. I'm like, you're forgetting the second book. It went downhill on the third. not the second.
Yes.
Oh, we like Sky and Breath. That's
I liked the last chapter. I liked the last, I'll call it, like, as we're talking about percentages, I liked the last 85% of it. And before that, it is a sludge to get through. Yes.
Really?
Ruhn Dannon, Crown Prince of
Valbarn.
I agree with that. Yes.
Cormac. There are so
I really
many.
enjoy.
I'm more annoyed that scene got interrupted, if anything. Like, that was not a point in its favor.
Agent
Also,
J.
Actually,
Agent
wait, I
Knight.
need to ask a serious question. About this. In reference to the fawns, do they just have hooves and normal legs, or
Yeah, it's a Mr. Tumnus situation. Are
Yeah.
we not
They
on
don't
board
have,
with
like-
that? I saw
do
you
they have
shaking your
goat
head.
legs?
Well, that's
Do we not all think the same?
That's
It's
exactly how we think it. Yeah,
it's
and that's
hoofs.
such a great analogy there, Ellie. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not
Ellie,
like
repeat
feet,
that?
though. It's
It's
not
a
like
Mr.
feet with
Tumnus
toes.
situation in
Are their
Narnia.
legs like goat hairy legs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That's a
not
little weird.
goat, it's deer. But yes.
It's a little weird to go down on deer pussy, right? Like that's.
Well, that's not being very
Daniel
open-minded, Daniel.
Alexander.
Like that was a thing of just like. Also,
that was something I just accepted, and I wasn't going to think too much
same.
about.
Fair,
Like,
fair,
I'm
but I'm
fantasy book.
I'm thinking directly from Ruhn's perspective. It's a little weird to have someone sit on your face and then have their feet be in front of you still, because the way the legs work.
No. It's like just the hind legs, and then I assume that she has regular arms.
No, but I'm saying the hind
yeah.
legs. Don't they kind of like the way deer legs? They kind of like bend forward when they sit, right?
Yeah, they
they-
like hyperextend.
like, you don't go like this; they go this way. So
I feel like if
she's sitting
anything, it'd
down
be
and her
more
legs are
flexibility.
comfortably in front of her.
It would actually be the opposite. They'd be pointing backwards, and because like think about it, if you're sitting on someone's
I'm
face,
picturing what other positions I can get into with this
The
flexibility.
anatomy is a little weird to me.
all right. Well, Sky and Breath is underappreciated in my humble opinion.
Overappreciated, in my opinion.
Wow.
Oh my
Moving on to 3 favorite
I'm
characters.
so excited about this episode here. Okay.
For my 3 favorite characters, I have Rhys, but I'm not going to put the qualifier of pre Silver Flames because do I have some major issues with him in Silver Flames? Yes. We go on a major rant in our next episode, and it just doesn't feel right. And yet, if I can't love you at your worst, I can't have you at my
Amen.
your best either.
I get
So
it.
Okay, wait,
will
I get
accept
it.
this. Now that completely goes out the window for my next favorite character, which is Bryce, because that is pre House of Flame and Shadow. Because I don't know what alternative possessed creature took over her in that book. I'm not even going to touch on it. I love Bryce in the first 2 Crescent Cities. And then I'm actually going to put Feyre because after really going deep in her journey and her mindset and everything like that, like she really rose up to be a very big character for me, even higher than Aelin and Manon, which I can't believe I'm saying. So I think she's going to be my number 3.
I agree with you. The first time I read through the ACOTAR series, by the time I got to ACOTAR, I was so Bed Bath & Beyond done with Feyre. But then the second time, I think it's because I knew what was coming. I appreciated the little moments a lot more, and she really grew on me going through it again. So I know where she's still not top 3 for me, but I do know where you're coming from, and I appreciate the like retrospective thought process on like, okay, like you said, like after deep diving, you realize how great she actually is, because that same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
I really like her.
All right. So my top 3 favorite books, like probably everybody else here, Akamath is definitely probably number 1. Oh, no. Akamath is definitely number 1 because for all the same reasons. It was such a beautiful love story. It had the chapter 54 moment. It had just the beautiful healing journey, just all of it. We were introduced to Valaris. We were introduced to my Cassian, just all of it. And then I struggled with having to come up with a 2 and 3 just because they're all like, it's so hard to choose your favorites, right? Queen of Shadow is definitely up there as well. I was thinking about putting Heir of Fire up there because I also love like that training montage sort of thing there. But Queen of Shadows, when she goes back and goes up against Erebon, wait, what's his name?
Erebon.
Erebon. Yeah. When she goes up against Erebon and just how she's really embraces being Aelin. I loved that book there. And then, like I mentioned earlier, character, I think that Silver Flames might be number 3, probably because of the law of recency. Like, we're currently deep diving it, and just the journey that Nesta goes on. It is so impactful. It's the best character development journey I've ever read. As far as some of the plots and the plot holes, I don't know how I feel about some of those and some of the other character decisions, but her character development is the best thing I've ever read, so that has to go in the top 3. As far as 3 favorite characters, Cassian.
Yes.
And if I have to choose other characters, I'm obsessed with Cassian. He is my number 1 book boyfriend, like, so far ahead of anybody else in the entire world. Like, he is on his own universe. And then I do love Manon as well. Like, I also loved her in Queen of Shadows. And Heir of Fire, you kind of got to know her. It was a little bit like, what is this other POV going on here? And then in Queen of Shadows, she really came into her own, and so I loved her in that one. And then number 3, Ruhn is definitely up there. I love him. Nesta as well. Even though I don't think I'd be friends with Nesta at all, I love, again, her character journey. Like, pre-first quarter of Silver Flames, definitely not. But then afterward, absolutely. So I think that's
Chapter
what I gotta go with.
13 and beyond is like when
yes, exactly.
doing good things.
So those are mine. Yes.
Nice.
Love that.
It's me now. Okay. So yeah, I thought I was being really, what's the word, unique in choosing House of Earth and Blood as my second. My bad. Okay. I was just like, everyone hates the series now after the end, but, which, same. But, no, I think the thing that gripped me about House of Earth and Blood, and I'll get to my first one in a second, is just, I love when it ramps up and hits you in the face. And so again, I was hooked from the moment Danica and the pack were killed. I had DNF'd the book the first time I was reading it because it was a little urban fantasy, it's feminism because I'm wearing a tight dress, doing drugs, and having guns. And
that summarizes the first few chapters.
That was Bryce's intro. It's like, I say fuck and also I'm curvy, so it's, it's empowering. And it's like, oh,
can't argue,
brother, like, give me something more. And then, we see Bryce struggle with depression and the loss of this boy that she was in love with and also her best friend, and, try to reconcile that. I really enjoyed the first book. Again, Sky and Breath was a freaking slog for me. I don't know what you're on about. For number
wounded.
Yeah. For number 1, I did put Akamath because I think that just has the best showcase of the character arcs in the series. But I do think I prefer the beginning of Akawar only because I love revenge stories. Mm-hmm. Give me a woman who just wants to burn something to the ground.
No, I was just gonna say.
No, listen. I have been defending Feyre from the beginning about her painting and about the fact that she didn't do anything freaking wrong with the spring fort. If she makes a fucking oath and says, "I will burn your fucking house to the ground," and your response is, "Come home, dear," that's on you. That's on you.
That is so on you.
No,
I remember we had you on our podcast pretty soon before we went into Akawar, and you actually did give us some new insights. And I do remember bringing in some of your perspective as we were starting to go into it, because I was going to be just like ripping her a new one. And then after you did give a good case for her revenge era, I was like, okay, I should rethink this a little bit. So thank you for providing some perspective.
Truth be told, you could have stabbed Tamlin in the chest and it wouldn't have been that
However,
I'm honest, I didn't have a line.
But when it comes to her and Lucien and her manipulating Lucien to like seem like they're
hot as fuck.
Oh my god.
Grow a pair and stand up to your best friend, or get manipulated. Those are your options.
I can't argue.
She
with
really,
that. All right.
Yeah. And
she really put baby in a corner with that one. So
No, and then number 3 for me is Queen of Shadows. Kaltain's the end of Kaltain's journey. Again, revenge story. Burn that shit to the ground. Though I have to say, the people who are like Kaltain reincarnated as the Suriel, I need you guys to check your smoke alarms. I don't know where the hell that came
Nicole
from.
went on and on about that.
Change the batteries. She was given a cloak.
wait.
Other people have cloaks.
On and on, pro or on and on against?
Oh, absolutely pro.
Wait.
I think it's a fun. Okay, I have a difference between that's a fun theory, which is I think you're on crack and you need to stop talking, and I have my that's a fun fan theory, which it's genuinely like I think that's a really cool theory that the fans are coming up with. That is what I put that in that category.
Yeah, no, I think they're like just full on delusional.
So you say it's a fun theory.
It is fun, but there's no difference between the people who are like, oh, this would be cool, and people who are like, this is absolutely what's happening.
Oh, see, I definitely don't think it's actually like what was in SJM's mind. I definitely think it's one of those connections where it's like, oh my god, if this happened and this happened, that would be really, really cool. I have a few of those as well. Like, but
it's more than the cloak, though, Daniel. It's about
more than the cloak.
The description about how I can't remember off the top of my head, but about how when
it's the leave the world better than you found it quote.
Yes,
I think it came
and
from
a phantom wind. They are both described as being on a phantom wind after they pass.
I will concede. A little bit, not that much. Yeah.
You all have me in my feels about House of Earth and Blood, so I'm not crazy about urban fantasies. Like I do love, I appreciate Crescent City for the series that it is, but Earth and Blood, oh man, that ending was one of the absolute best endings. So I'm going to put that as a tie for my third one. You all have convinced me and reminded me of how amazing it is. Yes,
it's good. I get that with urban fantasy. I'm much more into urban fantasy TV shows, which I think is why I get along so well with like the Marvel stuff. Like I love those kinds of settings, but in books, the worst thing that you can do is make a sci-fi, a fantasy series that then references Earth. I hate that shit. Like with progression fantasy, a lot of stuff is like, oh, I was taken away to, from my home planet of Earth and now I'm on this magical world. I'm like, why wouldn't you just like invest in world building and making it its own thing?
Some people like Earth, Daniel. I don't know.
I'm pretty fond of it myself, I will say.
Yeah, it's great and all. Like, it's got like Margot Robbie and fries, but I just want, I don't know, with fantasy, I think like, just freaking take a step. Do the House of Earth and Blood step. It's urban, but it's still clearly its own world.
Yeah. Like if they there's a book that I'm deep in right now.
Because it could be Earth because of how it's described as the humans were originally on this planet, and it was like absolutely. And when I was listening to that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is Earth 15,000 years ago.
But they didn't call it Earth. That's the difference.
However,
Midgard.
Not to aid any potential delusions here, but in Norse mythology, Midgard was their word for Earth.
Word for Earth, yeah.
There you go.
No,
I have thoughts.
It's Earth. Okay. Like I've always listened to it as it is Earth, but it's 15,000 years later.
Oh,
I hate that.
Could be.
I think you just dunked it off your list.
No,
actually, I changed my mind.
It'll be up there for me. But like, if we're doing urban fantasy, I love the show Lost Girl. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
It is this. It's this like old urban fantasy show that is so deeply Canadian, and no one knows any. Like it's so. It's like set in the States. It's, urban fantasy. I won't go too far into it, but it's just so jarring because every once in a while someone drops the American accent and says a boot. And
it's like Degrassi.
Yeah.
It's like Degrassi.
It is.
For fave characters, I could not decide between Manon and Amryn, and I know it's Manon. It's Manon. Okay. Give me this,
that's
please.
Fair. We've taken everything else from you, so you can.
Thank you.
You can have that one.
I will flip Amryn into the top 3 when you hear my third place. It's kind of weird. I picked Helion as my second.
I like that.
I like the guy. I like him as I like him as High Lord. I like his character as like he kind of plays along with Rhys, and then just drops everything, including his pants, like in behind closed doors. People are doing him fucking dirty though. He didn't have a 3-way with someone.
Oh, sorry. I think you meant he dropped his pants behind closed doors, and I was like, that doesn't sound like Helion.
Oh, yeah. No, also, like, I'm sorry. There's an extreme focus on his thighs, and I'm a leg person. Like, that's legs do it for me. So there's just Feyre and I seem to have the same interests.
No wonder you're so against the fawns from Crescent.
Yeah, there it is. We get it now.
We've come full circle.
Good callback. But people are doing him fucking dirty with this because I'm pretty sure everyone in the Night Court knows that this man has a son that he is unaware of.
Yes.
At least the inner circle.
You mean Rhys not telling people things?
directly related to their like lineage and childhood. Yeah. No, it's just I'm hoping the reveal is something offhand, like Elaine having one of her visions and like Lucien healing her in a room, and she's like, before you have an issue with me and my, before you say something rude about Nesta, fix your own problems with your father, and like that's the mic drop. I want it to be something comedic.
I could see that for sure.
What I initially put as my third, and I'm willing to concede it and replace it with Amren, I put Koschei because I have a lot riding on him being an interesting villain. I think
That's one of my theories that I'm going to talk about.
Oh, yay. Yeah.
Yay!
No, he's based off of, the mythology or the folklore surrounding like Swan Lake, and, Barbie Swan Lake is the best Barbie movie, and I will fight anyone on that.
I don't know. Princess and the Pauper is
I'll
pretty
fight
good.
you.
It's Rapunzel.
All right. Keep going.
Okay. No, just like I love sort of like, is it Lick or is it Lich? The like fantasy creature.
I say Lich.
Okay, I thought it was. Okay,
I say everything wrong, so don't ask me.
If it's not in the audiobook, I don't know how to pronounce.
Fair enough. So he's like the Lich style of like he's hidden his death. He has the phylactery. I love that kind of fantasy trope of like the immortal villain, but who has a glaring weakness like that. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, and also like the other two siblings we met. I think we all really enjoyed. Striga and the Bone Carver were really chill, so I'm hoping he's chill too. But also,
fun fact about Koschei. He is from Russian folklore or Slavic folklore, and in the tale of Koschei, he's known as Koschei the Deathless, which is exactly how he's known in ACOTAR.
It's very parallel, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And he has a box that there's an egg in it, and it's under a mountain, which I'm assuming in this world is going to be Ramiel.
Yes.
And
it's his one weakness.
And it's his only weakness. And he has like a horde of women, and he has one in particular that's like the damsel in distress. And there's a guy named Ivan Snosnovich who goes to get the egg and, like kill Koschei. And Ivan Snosnovich literally translates to son of a pine tree. And I think that is the funniest shit I've ever heard in my entire
just started
life.
cracking up at like the son of a nutcracker, but it's son of a pine tree. And so now that's one of our swear words on Fantasy Fangirls. We literally have merch that says son of a pine tree.
That's incredible.
I really think that there's going to be some kind of box, because Elaine has the vision about like, a black box and all this kind of stuff. I think it's going to be underneath Ramiel, and that's going to be a huge plot where maybe Azrael and Elaine are going to go get it, or Lucien and Elaine, who knows, because he's like going to defend Vasa. So yeah,
absolutely.
Well, you just shared one of my theories that I was going to talk about.
I hope that it's actually an egg too. The little bit of just weird irony of like his one weakness being an egg. Like,
can you imagine how stinky that egg would be in a box under a mountain for so long?
No wonder the fake find it.
I obviously don't know the folklore because this is the first I'm hearing of this. Love it, by the way. But I'm also wondering, because I am like Ukrainian, like very Ukrainian by heritage, and I'm wondering if it's not a real egg, if it's like those painted eggs, because that's
like the wooden egg, almost like.
Yeah, there's when I say I'm very Ukrainian,
it makes a lot of sense, because it was like an egg and then something and then something and then something.
Oh, those are the Russian dolls.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I mean, those are, I think, Russian too. I'm wondering when, like, as far as it like not smelling, just because my grandparents had those little wooden painted eggs all over their house, everywhere. And Ukrainian and Russian cultures are different, but same. And I hope
the folklore is similar. Yeah.
I hope no one comes at me for that, because I know there's a lot going on right now. I'm Ukrainian. I can say it. I'm also very American. Keep going.
I know, like, the whole point is he puts his death in the box, right? So I guess it's in the egg.
Yes.
Which I guess that must be the connection.
The pretty egg.
Yeah.
pretty egg.
My first thought was Fabergé egg, not like, hard boiled.
That was mine as well.
Immediately my mind went to hard boiled eggs. But
I can say it's like it seems that
I didn't
up a really good point.
A perfectly preserved hard boil.
That's part
frozen.
of the magic.
Why would it be in Ramiel instead of like in the lake he lives on?
Because it's supposed to be under a mountain, and I don't
Okay.
think his lake is in a mountain. Or,
Fair.
You don't know a lot about the continent he's on
That's
either.
true. So
No,
that,
no,
that is a
I
total
just want to see more of the
assumption.
Eastern continent.
No, but I like it being under Ramiel because we know more about it. And like you said, the black box vision was already there.
If
And
we go underground a third fucking time, I'm gonna have a BF.
Oh, I'm like almost guaranteeing that we
I am
are
too.
because there's palaces and all the
Mother.
carvings under the other two,
Grr.
and we also know
Grr.
that the Dread Trove, the Daglin had hidden the Dread Trove underneath Ramiel, and that is where Thea then took it from them, and then that's how they partly defeated them. So we know, like, we've already seen her go underneath Ramiel in House of Flame and Shadow, the flashbacks there. So I have a feeling we're going to be going back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Because-
no, Daniel.
because I'm an annoying little sister at heart, I hope this next book is solely underground. I hope the light of day does not, none of them,
Shine on this book.
None of their eyes grace the sun.
It's none of the characters we know.
oh
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Wow.
All right. Well, on that note, that was your last one, correct, Dana? I don't want to.
Yes, you're all
Okay,
good.
excellent. All right. Well, not to be so unoriginal, but my favorite books, obviously, Akamath. I think that was all of our first.
Yeah.
It's
I was
5 for
listening.
5.
For the same reasons. Like, truly, the Akatar was the book that got me into reading again as an adult. Akamath blew my ever-loving mind. I did not know someone, like, the initial love interest could not be the main love interest. That was, like, so genius. I'm like, she broke the rules in a good way. Like,
Yes.
it was mind-blowing to me. And now I'm realizing that it's not as uncommon as I thought it would be. But it's okay because it was my first intro into that. So she gets all the credit for doing it.
I think we're all in the same boat here. Yep.
I had a really hard time with picking any other book after this because there's so many that I love. And I also have problems with all of them at the same time. But I'm just a girl, and my problems are not big or grand at the end of the day. I think Heir of Fire, is solidified as my second. The growth in Aelin in that book, chef's kiss. Also, I love how many different point of views we get. Like, I know, Lexi, I think you brought it up earlier, how we get a little bit of Manon in, like, we don't really know what's going on, but, like, we start to get her in there, and so we get witch stuff, which was so fun. Loved everything about the 13 and everything for the rest of that series. My boy, love him. And I didn't love that Rowan and Aelin were cousins, but learning that wasn't her intention initially, it made a lot more sense. And I did like how they truly were enemies. Like, there wasn't even lovers in this. They just hated each other, and then they, like, parted ways as unlikely friends by the end of it. Like, it was everything I needed. It was friendship. I'm a huge romance person. Like, that is why I read. That's where Ellie and I differ. She's a plot girl. I am just a romance. Like, I do need plot, but I read for romance. Like, that is... And I was surprised by how much I love this book, considering there's, like, negative romance. There's, like, maybe 4 sentences, and it was, like, in her head. Like, there's really not any. And the fact that this captivated my attention and I loved it so much without that, that's how I know that this was, like, a fantastically written book, and the story is incredible. I could have done... I know this isn't, like, so original. I am not a Kale fan. I've had people come at me. He's fine. He's a boy. He's a real boy. That's
just a
what...
dude.
He's not a fantasy boy. Yeah, for real, though. He's not... He has real boy struggles. I don't want to read about that. That happens every day. Like, he is so normal. He's normal SpongeBob. Like, and I don't... Hi, how's the weather? Like, I don't want to read about that. Give me literally anyone else at this point. Like, I
Give me
don't...
Doodle
so,
Bob.
Yeah.
I agree with you. In Queen of Shadow especially, I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, I need him to go away. And you know what? You were making such a good point. I can be easily influenced here, clearly, because now I'm like, well, wait,
so
shit,
can
do I
I.
like Heir of Shadow or Heir of Fire or Queen of Shadows more? Because he drove me absolutely crazy in Queen of Shadows, and he wasn't
So
really on the
crazy.
page very much in Heir of Fire. So, yeah.
Still, somehow, he was on it too much. And, but, like, I agree.
I will say I actually am one of the people who did really love Tower of Dawn. It's definitely not one of my top ones of the series, but his and oh my gosh, Irene's love story was so beautiful. So going into it with those low expectations,
how do you pronounce it, Daniel?
Kind of her being more of the focus and the main character, I really, really loved that.
Well, why?
I thought it was cool, like how it was a healer and she was helping him, and she really did hate him.
I'm so sorry, I'm not fighting you. I'm talking about like
there was
the
a
beginning of her
secondary
name.
conversation.
Oh, sorry. I'll defend my girl Irene real quickly here if you need me to.
You're totally right. She's great, but like I didn't realize her fucking name was Irene. I was reading it like urine. I don't.
Urine.
It's not confidently not urine.
That's urine. I thought like. It's a Y. I'm not crazy, right? Like, it's a Y.
I approached this in the same way I approached Ethan.
Yeah, same.
It's spelled with an I.
Oh, I always called him Ethan. Okay, yeah.
No, I still said Ethan even though it was an I, and so Irene, it was a Y. But Y's are somehow sometimes pronounced like I's, everyone. Let's go back to third grade.
One example of another word where that happens.
My husband's
aunt.
Dynasty. There we go, Ellie.
Oh, thank
okay,
you.
Good. Fine, Ellie. That was good. That's a suffix. Okay, fine. You know what? It's fine. It's fine.
Somebody mute Daniel again.
No. This is a very male response. I didn't have that much of an issue with Kale, mostly because he was just.
You wouldn't. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I just like that's what they know. He's just a dude. He's some guy.
That's the point.
John, you don't have an issue with Kale, but you hate Ethan?
That's because he's fucking useless. At least Kale brought back an army.
That's so true.
That is.
But did Nesrin and Sartak? Yeah.
Ethan had one job. Ethan had one job. Get the antidote to Bryson Hunt. One job. He stopped at the wolves, handed almost all of them out instead, and then said, go hide, and then dropped them and got 2 vials to them.
Thank you.
No.
I don't even remember that part because I just kind of like...
I trauma blocked it for the longest time.
I'm rereading House of Flame and Shadow right now for our Silver Flames coverage, and it's like I'm literally skipping all of the parts of Ethan and such.
It's
like,
rough.
again, like it all works within the context of the story. Like I'm not meaning to hate on the story here because I don't like doing that, but
yeah.
Oh, I will.
It is okay. Daniel will do it for me.
2 things. Fine. Yes, Kale's whole shtick was like, I can't believe she's exactly who she said she was. Like,
yes.
Which is a very fair critique to have of him. But I think like as Aelin progressed, the gripes against Kale kind of faded away just because it's like girl's handling her own thing. So that's one.
And he still had issues with it.
So fucking irrelevant. He had daddy issues too. Like fucking someone having a problem with Aelin is get in line. Okay, like it's so. It's so standard at that point. Like,
I'm not because like people were justified in having problems with her. His problems were not justified in my opinion.
Oh,
like
not in the least, but like he's irrelevant is my point. Like I don't have an issue with him because he doesn't matter.
He was like a fly. Like it just wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
That was, and I think I just got so annoyed by the end. I'm like, stop buzzing.
It's
like,
so true.
Yeah. If I can derail the House of Flame and Shadow for a second, though, I have such a freaking pet peeve when they try to create like magic black holes. Like by the time you see a black hole, it's killed you. They suck in light. How is that the final point?
They had super suits. What more does there need to be?
It was Big Hero 6. It was an autopilot suit possessed by the soul of your ex.
I know.
If Bryce had been a real, like, actual just the girl type of woman, the moment he would have popped out and saved her, she would have been like, why the hell were you inside your ex-girlfriend? She would have absolutely had a problem with
That's
that
fair.
shit.
Not to be
Why
that
are you talking to
person.
your ex?
Honestly,
Why is
with
there a
how
ghost
she
haunting you?
Not to be that person. But
Change
there's
my
a
mind, Nicole,
lore
please.
Explanation. There is a lore explanation for the black holes. Lexi, do you remember it from when we covered Akawar?
Oh yeah, well. In that case, it was the kill switch, and so when the cauldron dies, or when the cauldron breaks, and it starts erasing the world, like the void is literally it starts creating its own magical version of a black hole, and so that is when Bryce does the same thing with that kill switch. It's essentially the exact same thing that the cauldron does that they have to put back and fix together, and it's just them not fixing it and instead doing all their stuff that they did there.
event horizon
not real.
black hole. It's like a
Yeah.
growing void. Okay.
Exactly.
This
It's
is
the
soothing
void
me. I will
in
admit, this is
this
a good point.
magical universe. Yes,
Okay.
and that is it's the exact same thing that they had to fix with in Act War with the cauldron.
I'm gonna be
love
so honest. I really thought the lore you were gonna go into was the ex-girlfriend
Next
possessed super suit, and I was very excited about it.
Maybe one of these days, right?
Oh man, this was painful to pick a third because for all the reasons that everyone has said, Queen of Shadows has my heart. I am realizing now that we're talking about this how much I love the Throne of Glass series. We've gone through it, and I've known that I love it. ACOTAR holds a special place in my heart because it was the first one that I read. But there's something about the character development because of how many books in the Throne of Glass world that there are. Man, it just does it for me. And so I landed on Empire of Storms for my third favorite.
Love
But
that one.
honorable mention to Queen of Shadows and House of Sky and Breath. And so, Nicole, I'm really glad that you brought that up because those were like there's so many good ones. And honestly, Silver Flames as well, but specifically for character development, not for plot.
Yep.
Which we've already gone over. But like, Nesta is, there's so many good. So I landed on Empire Storms because it broke me reading it. The ending, where's my wife? No. Like there was so much going on, but I love that one was finally starting to, everyone outside of KL was finally starting to group back together.
Shot.
I am a simp for Lorcan.
I love Lorcan too. Oh my god.
Like, and that he even when he was like honestly, to quote Nicole earlier when we were offline, a poopy pants, I still was so obsessed with him. There's just something she did. I'm all over the place. I'm so sorry. I love Grumpy Sunshine when it's done well. Because I love Grumpy Sunshine, I generally hate every book that has a Grumpy Sunshine trope because I feel like it's not realistic. Like, it's so overdone. One is too grumpy, the other is too sunshine, and it just doesn't do it for me. But when it's done well, oh my god, love it. And the way Sarah did Lorcan and Elide, it should be the blueprint for Grumpy Sunshine. That is, it is the standard. That's what everyone should be striving for. So because of that, I loved him even in the beginning. Loved him always.
I love him so. The circus part where they were like pretending to be husband and wife, like that was perfection. Oh my god.
And I also love how easy he is to make fun of.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It's so good. And like, I just know that he would appreciate it too. Like, if he were here and I made the joke of the Valentine's Day card I saw of him talking about like giving her strips of his shirt, like, he would laugh at it. And I love that about him. So he wasn't actually, this is a good segue into my favorite characters. I didn't put him in my top 3, but I think I might now. I have Rhys, obviously. I did put pre-Akasif in here, but Nicole, I do like what you said about if you can't take the bad, you don't deserve him at his, like, if you can't take him at his worst, you don't deserve him at his best. But I still think I'm gonna not take him at his worst.
So real.
Like, I understand. I will say, I hated the 180 he took in that book, but I do like that Sarah stuck to her guns and didn't make a loophole just because he's our most beloved character. Like, she wrote in there that when a Fae male has a pregnant wife, they get crazy and they get possessed. Like, they do everything that he did. And I do appreciate that she didn't make him the exception to that. But I also wish she made him the exception to that.
That is all fair. Yes.
Yes.
I love and hate it at the same time.
I also appreciated how we had more of Nesta's POV. So, with his mate, obviously, from Farah's point of view, like, he is going to be, he can do no wrong, right? And at least after, they fall in love and whatnot. And then, we do get a little bit of that with Cassian, but from Nesta's POV, like, it really stuck to that in the narrator's POV. And I really appreciated that, where it's like, if he was the Rhys that we all know and love from her perspective, it would have been like, what the hell is this? Like, you're not supposed to be thinking that about him.
I think what made me, what irked my Nurkin, if you will, is that like he's been all about like choice and like giving Feyre choice and making sure she has choice and choice.
Yeah.
From the get-go, that has been like the major theme we've discovered throughout the books. And then in Akasif, that just like, wow, flew away on a phantom wind, if you will. And it just drove me kind of crazy.
On a phantom wind, if you will. He's the Suriel, you all.
He's the Suriel.
Exactly. New theory. It's been him the whole time. I agree. Totally. And I think I think she was trying to play that into his whole possessive mate, husband, father, but like that didn't need to be part of it. He could have, and especially with the emphasis on him being the most powerful High Lord, I think I would have appreciated more to see him struggle and fight against his male urge to be that way, but then to like know in the back of his mind, like, this isn't who I am, this is circumstance, like this is situational, she still deserves that. And I would have, especially from Nesta's point of view, like seeing him struggle with that, I would have liked it more. But I do understand why he had to be kind of the bad guy in her story. I don't know.
I truly stand by the fact that Sarah steered away from him giving Feyre a choice and then like watching Feyre like battle between I want to keep this baby and like I'm gonna die, and he just has to be like helpless to that because it was too close to the Renesmee situation. I really think that is why his character had to be, we're just not going to tell her.
I don't know.
So
yes, but don't taint my story with Renesmee.
Wait, what am I forgetting?
Twilight.
Okay, thank you. I was like, wait, I'm just like going through like all the mass verse here. And it's like, wait. Oh, there we go. Yes, okay.
Renesmee.
It's been a long time. Yeah, I apologize.
Renesmee is not in the
by her actual name.
Like, oh gosh, I'm going to ask a stupid question here.
No, so anyways, Rhys, obviously, I have to put Ruhn Dannon, Crown Prince of the Valbaran Fae.
Yeah.
Because, oh man, the only thing that I like... Stop. The only thing that I like almost as much as a Rhys is a good golden retriever. And Ruhn delivers. The black cat golden retriever dynamic between him and Lydia, no crumbs were left. And him just being so willing to assume stepdaddy. And I think that got me even more because I'm a mom. Not that even that's my situation, but it just being a mom, I'm like having someone who would be so okay with this and like not just okay with it, but like welcoming it. Oh, that got me extra.
I love that about him.
The cherry on top.
Also, just how female empowerment he is, where it's like, yeah, sure, Bryce, like, here, you take the power. Like, there was no power struggle there whatsoever.
Yes.
And I just really think that he embodies, I'll say, a male character written by a woman.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What? I do think we're seeing a theme here with my two favorites so far. They are the definition of men written by women.
And both really
areas.
good dads in their own way.
And I am sensing a theme. No, and I'm going to break that, though, because my third favorite is actually Elide.
Ooh.
I talk about when we went through Throne of Glass, and every time she was, I talked about this so much. I love that she still stood out in a group full of magical and strong people. And not only was she just human, my girl had a gimp ankle, and she still saved people and was in like the apex of making all these decisions and like the glue between all these people and so devoted. Oh my gosh, she did no wrong. I love Elide so much. And honestly, the fact that she ended up with Lorcan made me like her even more. Like,
great, all that and great taste in men.
Yeah, exactly. She, again, no crumbs. I keep saying that, but like, I love Elide so much. I could pick so many other characters, and I have a very long, not so short list of people I could put as like 3.1, 0.2, 0.3. But I have to put her at the top of my number 3. I love Elide with all of my heart.
The scene where they like just lock her uncle away.
Yes.
I know.
Like, so good.
You are one for revenge.
I no, because I can't stand, I think growing up especially, and even just in TV shows nowadays, like you get the whole like, no, we have to be better, let's forgive them. And I'm like, this is...
No.
kill the motherfucker. Like,
Maybe don't read the Kindred Curse saga.
okay.
I don't know if you'll appreciate that story in that case.
How's this for a description? Ever since Zuko's redemption arc, we're done. We don't need anyone else having a redemption arc. That was the good one. That was the best one. He is fantastic.
That was the good one.
Everyone else get fucked.
I could make a strong case. No, I'm not going to. I'm done. So
Okay.
Zuko's was great. Ellie, let's start off with theories.
Okay. I have 3 theories, which are really actually 2, but one's like you'll see. So my first one is, I think that, and I don't know if I actually think, but I'm believing for this and hoping for it with all my might, that Elaine is Valg or possibly even Maeve back from the grave. So, step 1. Have you guys heard this
I
one?
haven't heard
I have
this
not.
one.
I have. I've seen it on the TikTok.
On the TikTok.
On the TikTok. It is one of my favorites. So we have to take a look at Maeve first. What could she do? She could manipulate minds. She caused everyone to believe that she was the 3rd sister of the Fae Queens Mor and Mab. She faked a mating bond between Rowan and Lydia, and she was a seer. She saw Aelin's mate before it happened, etc., etc. She also hated fire because it was the one thing that could destroy the Valgs, right? So then we mirror that to Elaine, who is one of 3 sisters, also a seer. Does she want to reject the mating bond because she gets the ick from Lucien, or because he has fire in his veins? And then we look at Nesta and Elaine. They've been so close throughout all of the books, and Nesta has always been very self-loathing, hateful, depressed, common traits found in those who hang around the Valgs. But then the one book where Nesta is actually healing and making a difference and like growing, guess who's nowhere near her? Elaine. And so then back to Maeve. She wanted to get away from her Valg King husband, but got power hungry and flew, in my opinion, a little too close to the sun, ending in her defeat. So if this is her again, same tactics, except now she's just a humble gardener. No one would bother her. She's living her own little human life, supposedly human life. And it would also make sense on why she wanted to stay away from the Fae and wouldn't want to be mixed up in this mess leading to her super depression after being made Fae. She just didn't want to be caught, didn't want anything to do with this. And now she's literally in the inner circle of all of this. So that is my first theory.
Ooh. And she ended up exactly where she didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I like that. Yeah, honestly. I've heard the theory of her being Valg, but not the relation to her being Maeve also. That was an interesting. I'll have to mull on this one a little, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like it.
This is one of those series where, like, I really like the evidence. I hear the evidence and I'm like, it like makes me start thinking. But then I also think about the evidence and I'm like, could it be explained away another way? And I do think that falls into this category. And I also, so on the episode that Daniel came on for us, I ripped Elaine a new asshole, and I actually have done a complete 180, and I really like Elaine now. Like, she has become not a favorite character, but a much more understood character. And if she has this like 180 of like, oh, psych, I'm like actually super, super evil. Depends on how it's done, but I want her to be just like not good, but I want her to be Elaine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like the only zest I would find in her is if she actually was evil. But maybe I haven't deep dived her enough. But
I can understand that perspective, and like I'm kind of like I'm excited for her story now.
Yeah.
Me too.
It seems this one has landed in your "that's a fun theory" category, so that's fine. We'll move to theory 2.
No, you would know if I thought that was a fun theory. I'm gonna put that as that is a fun fan theory, which most of these are. Let's be honest. Like, we're just having fun here. Yeah. But I do love that idea, and especially that there is more to Elaine than what meets the eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, this one, if you thought that was like maybe not, this one I think will land in the definitely not, but I still like it.
No one's judging here. We're all just having fun.
I'm judging.
Daniel,
we
you're
all
always
get the
judging. You don't
comments.
count.
Yeah.
We don't theory shame.
No.
Thank you. Because this one it's on the chopping block to be the most shamed. So this one has to do with the Throne of Glass world being what essentially Midgard is built on top of. And I know what we're all thinking. Everybody's like, no, all these worlds are happening at the same time. I've heard the arguments. Okay, I get it. I get it. No more comments. I get it.
Ellie, you're
But
fired.
also, the harp. Let's look at the harp. It literally talks about being something that's used to move through time and space. So
True.
the idea of time traveling is not off the table yet. And I know that everyone's like, oh, Sarah said
God,
they're
that's
happening at the
gonna
same
be a
time, but
disaster.
no one's been able to reproduce the interview, so we don't know. Unless you guys know. Do you know? There we go.
Everyone says she said this in an interview, and I've so many times commented back, please send me the interview, and no one responds.
We have been in the exact same position. Like in fact, this happened just a few weeks ago where we saw on the internet that she had originally had a threesome with her, Cassian, and Azriel in Silver Flames, and her editor made her take it out.
Not Sarah J. Maas, Nesta Kazar.
I thought we were talking about Sarah J. Maas for a second. I was beyond confused.
I'm
I
sorry.
was confused. I'm on track now.
I was confused and jealous.
Nesta, Cassian,
Lexi,
and
I was-
Azriel had a threesome.
I was tracking with you. You were all good.
And her editor made her take it out. And I looked everywhere for this interview and I could not find it. And that seems to be the running theme where it's kind of like, I feel like she used to do a lot of interviews. I'll call it more casual interviews. And now nobody can find them, but they still somehow exist. So whenever I see, oh yeah, this was in an interview, I'm just going to go ahead and take it as gospel and be like, yep. And at the same time, take it with a grain of salt. So it is true, but yes.
But maybe.
You are
Exactly.
You're so much nicer than me, because when I am such a cynic at heart, and I immediately go to no one actually knows, and they just keep hearing other people say it was said in the interview, and so they're just parroting what they heard, and this was never actually said, is what I immediately jump to.
It's all of us saying, please give us some more, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Help me, I'm
Yes.
poor.
Literally that. Yeah. Okay. So again, Throne of Glass is what Midgard is built on top of. Here are my points. Number 1, the world of Throne of Glass no longer exists. Instead, it was destroyed by the Asteri to form Midgard. The reason we don't have the complete map is that Midgard, in fact, is the Throne of Glass world. Also, a lot of this theory originated from Emily's theories on Reddit, but it's been so long since we've gone over this, and I don't know where her theories end and where mine began, so it's all just muddled, but credit to her where it is due. And we did an episode on this previously, so if anyone wants to look for that, it's called Terrasen and Lunathian, One World or Two, and it came out around June. So Midgard, like Melissa said earlier, is the Norse name for Earth, and Terrasen means Old Earth. In an ancient region of Midgard, a city known as Parthos was obliterated during the First Wars. In the dream world where Apollyon brings Bryce, they find themselves in the ruins of the Great Library of Parthos. Bryce observes that the remnants of Parthos lie on a, quote, dusty plain, unquote, beneath a clear azure sky. In the Akatar universe, the bone carver spoke of the world he and his siblings originated from, remarking, I do not believe it's anything now more than dust drifting across a plain. As he reminisces about his former home, he sketches 3 interlocking circles in the dirt, an emblem that mirrors the design of Bryce's Archesian necklace, which is also the symbol of Parthos. And then connecting the bone carver, who's in Akatar, to the Throne of Glass world, this is the part 2 of my theories. I still believe that he is the Sin Eater who carved the bones, that missing god in the Throne of Glass world, the Sin Eater, and he carved bones and was known as the God of Truth. So, do we
I
see
like
it?
that
It's all
one.
connected?
Yep.
Okay.
It's connected.
Thank you. If Midgard is built on top of what once was the Throne of Glass world, then Lunathian should be where the southern continent is, and specifically where Antica was. Tower of Dawn, Antica is described as a city surrounded by a wall lined with olive groves and wheat farms bordering the city. Lunathian is described with sandstone walls, arid climate, and olive groves and little farms that line distant hills beyond the city borders to the north. So they both experience the same climate, and they're similarly surrounded by deserts, positioning the Great Lost Library of Parthos as the ancient Taurus Sesame. That one sends me. I love that. And additionally, this is my last point, Hypaxia's tutor was originally from Parthos. Hypaxia mentions that this tutor specifically taught her healing magic, and do we remember when she removed the crystallos from Bryce's leg? Very similar to how Irene healed Kaol from the Valg parasite.
Ooh.
No, not Urine.
Ellie, you fucking nailed
That
that.
was beautiful.
Thank
Round
you.
of applause.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
There's
I
also-
love that.
No, I'm sold. I'm the hook, line,
Thanks.
sinker. I'm sold. I'm totally sold.
Yeah, me too.
The only thing though is that with the Archeron necklace, isn't that triple, like the three interlocking symbols? There's a connection with the triple faced goddess as well, I think, with Terrasen. And also there's the Underking. I have blocked out that series as a trauma response. The connection between, like, we have confirmation essentially that the mother is Erd.
Yeah.
Right. She herself is called Word. They called her the Cauldron. The Cauldron's covered in in word marks. We can get to my theory from that. But, like, is it possible that all three planets are? Oh no, of course not. What am I saying? So we know at least that Prithian and Midgard aren't. Oh, it would suck though if it was so far apart. I want Aelin back.
Well, we reintroduced the concept of time travel.
Yes. Oh God. I swear to fucking God, we had the Big Hero 6 ending. If we get fucking Avengers Endgame, I'm throwing that book out my window. Ellie, I'm not trying to detract from your theory. That was very well executed. I hate going after you.
Oh man,
Oh my
that was
gosh.
amazing.
Oh, I love it.
I
do agree.
I don't know. I'm picturing, like, I don't know what floor. Do you live on a floor, Daniel? I'm picturing
11th,
some
yes.
like Canadian building with a window and just no
Tell
like
me
absolute
more about
silence
what
on the
usually a
street.
Canadian building
I know,
is.
Ellie.
I don't know.
I'm
What is
sorry. All I do
Canadian
is watch South Park,
architecture?
and so I think of all the Canadians.
But I'm picturing this silent street and someone walking by, and all of a sudden you just see a window like shatter with a book flying out of it.
And
No.
hear Daniel yelling, "No, not Endgame!"
Just damn it. No, thank God. I've got thick fucking walls in this apartment, and thank God with my reading schedule, these people would hear me constantly screaming.
With my reading schedule.
It's like that is why they would hear you screaming.
I
I have no friends.
know. Amazing.
Oh.
All right. I love that, Ellie. Way to go.
Thanks.
Are we on to
Is it my
Nicole?
turn? Is it my turn for
Yeah.
theories?
So deadpan with her theories and with her like response to compliments.
This is
It's
my personality.
no, I know.
Leave me alone.
You make me feel like I'm at like a PhD defense, and I did not show up prepared.
Oh my gosh.
I just
amazing.
came ready to fight, but there was no fight, so now it's just more serious.
Can I also
The
say
day is
something
young,
that's totally
Ellie.
random?
The day is
Ellie,
young.
your hair is beautiful, and I always admire your hair. Like, look at it. I just can't stop looking
Stop
at it.
it.
So, I just wanted to say
Isn't
that.
it so
you.
annoying? That's natural.
Like, how is that natural?
Did you
It's
wash your hair?
annoying.
Stop. Did I what?
Did you like wash your hair, wet your hair, or anything before this?
No, I
Oh, you
just
fucking
woke
bitch.
up.
Just woke up. Oh my gosh.
some
Do you
dry
know how
shampoo
many
in.
hours it would take me for my hair to look like that? Anyway.
Guys,
I feel
Stop.
okay saying
Thanks.
this. I feel okay saying this because I know that you're not. But the response of "No, I just woke up" is the most pick-me thing you've ever said.
I just woke up. It's
I mean,
just
as
like
the
this.
biggest
And I just-
compliment. So I just wanted to say that.
And
I
I
need
mean,
to find the time to say it
internally-
during this episode.
No, it's fine. Inside, I'm like screaming, but outside, I've been trained to just keep it all here.
Got it.
Thank you.
Got it. All right, Nicole, let's hear your theories. By the way, everybody, before Nicole had written them out in the outline, and I had my theories, and I was so excited to share them. And Nicole took one of mine, and also I totally knew all three of her theories before I even looked at them. I was like, I know which
Incredible.
ones Nicole's gonna say. So take it away, Nicole.
Well, I'm saving the best for last, so I'm going to start with the Archerons are descendants of the Starborn Fae. That is from
Yes.
Akavor. Yeah, I think that this is a very common theory, but I'm going to lay it all out here for us.
I
So
love it.
From Akavor, we know that we know from the bone carver that there was an ancient fairy warrior who trapped Koschei in a lake, among many other things, and has descendants through a human line in the planet of or at least in the continent of Prithian. We know from Hofas that there was that ancient fey warrior was Selene. I am 1,000% convinced that Selene is an ancestor to the Archerons. But Nicole, wouldn't that mean she's also an ancestor to Rhys? Yes, if Aelin and Rowan did it, then Rhys and Feyre can do it. For one.
Exactly.
Exactly, right? For one, in Akamath chapter 55, Feyre glows, quote, warm and white light, like a sun, like a star. From the Selene download in House of Flame and Shadow, we know that she had a son with a High Lord of the Night Court, also her mate, and she bound him to the Dusk Court, and she bound to the Dusk Court prison, quote, The son, this is the son she bound to the prison. Not like she didn't shove him in the prison. She just bound his blood to the prison. Quote, no one knew that the infant who sometimes glowed with starlight had inherited it from me, that it was the light of the evening star, the dusk star. When Feyre and Rhys are, bang, bang, bangity banging, she glows and she thinks it's from the day court. And Rhys is like, I don't care where it's from. She says that she doesn't really think about it. And then in Akawar, she's like, oh, Helion, where I get my glowing from. But I think that this is an example of a limited character POV. So I'm debunking that excuse right there. And later in chapter 55, Feyre thinks, quote, I think the light pouring out of me might have been starlight. And these are just a few instances. There's so many, and I'm just, not going to quote the entire ACOTAR
Can I
series here.
share one more, my favorite that I came up with?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So yes, to all of this, I still think that the night crown, the night court crown that Feyre is drawn to and ends up wearing for the High Lord's meeting had once been Thea's crown. So it's also tied to the Starborn, because in House of Flame and Shadow during one of the flashbacks there that we see, Thea took this crown, I think that she took this crown from Vesperus, who was that Daglin / Asteri, because she was sitting with a crown of stars, and then Thea was the one who served her. So I think that after they defeated her, Thea either took her crown back or it became her crown, and then she somehow imbued the Starborn power into it, or, it belonged to the Starborn, and then it had been Thea's crown, and then it became Celine's crown, and then it was passed down through the Night Court, and that is why Feyre is so drawn to it, is because it was her ancestor's crown once upon a time.
Yes.
Shut the front door.
Yes.
I love it.
I just want to point out the sun is also a star.
I just want to point out this count.
No. Not in this.
Not when there's a Night Court at play here.
No, I have been riding the fact that the Archeron sisters are Fey-blooded for a while. The stuff they do is so clearly beyond mortality. Like, I mean, I think I've told all four of you about Elaine's glamour, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. We have Feyre, who is absolutely stronger and faster than the average mortal. She hauled a wolf or a deer wrapped in a skinned wolf 6 miles through the snow.
As a malnourished teenager.
No, literally.
At
I
that
don't
point,
know if that was,
Katniss is also Fey too. You know how it goes.
Nesta is just scary.
I know, right?
No.
Well,
I fuck with that. I fuck with it.
Nesta also has the 8-pointed star on her back, where Bryce is at the end of Hofast, she's like, hey, you have this Starborn Fae tattoo on you, or you had it, I should say. Go figure out why.
Yeah.
So I am convinced that the reason these Archerons are so freaking powerful are because that they are descendants from Selene, and they are the human bloodline that the Bone Carver was talking about. I think that's a pretty popular theory, but I just wanted to lay out all the facts there as much as we could.
I think it's so popular because there's so much validity to it, and there's so many legs for it to stand on.
Yeah.
If it doesn't end up being true, I'm gonna riot because there's so much evidence pointing to that being
Exactly.
canon.
And then it also continues on with the Dusk Court. And Nicole, I don't mean to cut you off as you're going through all of your theories, but if you don't mind, for me to expand on that with the 8-pointed star and how, of course, it's directly linked to the Starborn and the Dusk Court. So I'd like to go ahead and venture and say the other really big popular theory is that Nesta will resurrect the Dusk Court, and specifically because the Archerons are descendants of the Starborn Fae. The Starborn used to rule the Dusk Court, and when Selene hid the harp in the secret chamber of the prison, she marked the floor with a large rendering of the 8-pointed star. And Nesta, when she's in there in the prison in Silver Flames, she has this creeping feeling that she's been brought here. Quote, not by the cauldron or the mother or the harp, by something vaster, something that stretched into the stars carved all around them. I think that's the Starborn power calling to her ties to Selene. And then also during Selene's big download in House of Flame and Shadow, Thea had said that she and her heirs were the only ones worthy of tending the island. So with and then plus with all the queen metaphors for Nesta throughout the entire ACOTAR series, and then her powers that definitely still exist when we go into Flame and Shadow, I think she'll be that heir to bring life back into the Dusk Court. I don't know what that means for the prison, but if anyone can figure it out, it'll be Lady Death and her Lord of Bloodshed, which, by the way,
Amen.
yes. And I think that Cassian will be more like her High General. Nicole and I have been talking about this in our deep dive, versus a High Lord or High King, however you want to call it. Nothing against him. I love my Cassian more than anything, but I think that's something he would prefer. He does not like so much of the politics and such. He is her knight in shining armor. He is her guardian and all of that there. So also, as we've been doing our deep dive here, Nesta loves looking at sunsets, you all. Like, it is absurd how many times she notices a sunset and how it calms her, how it fills her up. And that's really cool. And of course, the big thing too is that a setting sun is literally on the cover of Silver Flames, the book where her 8-pointed star is introduced. She goes to the prison, feels that different kind of power in the air. And there's so much foreshadowing for House of Flame and Shadows, where we learn more about the Dust Court. And of course, like Nicole had mentioned, and Nicole's showing us the cover. And of course, Bryce had said that big setup line, quote, "The age of the Starborn is over on Midgard. It ends with me. I think that 8-pointed star was tattooed on you for a reason. Take that sword and go figure out why."
Oh, but there's more. But there's more, because I forgot in House of Earth and Blood, when Rigelus is doing his like big evil villain download at the end, he tells Bryce that the reason her star glows is because, quote, "It's a beacon to the world from which the Fae originally come. It sometimes glowed when the nearest Fae who have undiluted bloodlines from that world." Who does it glow constantly around in Hofast? Yes, it's Azrael, but it's also Nesta. And it's like, it's showing her the way through the caves, but it's glowing around Nesta to begin with. So I think that also might be maybe possibly a tie-in or just a happy accident.
I buy it. I like it.
All right, keep going with your theories there. Yeah, keep going with your theories there, Nicole.
I'm just going to do one more because, to be quite honest, it's my absolute favorite, and I want to hear your alls as well. And that is that Papa Archeron is the master of the spice trade in all of Prithian. We know that Papa Archeron was a merchant. He was selling all sorts of goods to the continent, like spices. Yes, what is Valaris known for? Fucking spices. So, Papa Archeron, I believe him and his ancestors before him traded spices from Valaris to places on the continent like Scathia, which is known to be rich in trade. It is also the region where Vasa rules. Who does Papa Archeron roll up into battle with? Vasa. Whenever Feyre and Nesta think about spices, they immediately think about their father, his trade, his office, all that kind of stuff. Feyre thinks in Akamath, quote, "So many spices, since familiar and forgotten from those previous years when I had known the comfort of an invincible father and bottomless wealth." But here's where things get interesting, because the Archeron family had 3 generations of debt before the debt finally caught up to them. What if they started losing their wealth when Amarantha took over? Because that is also when spice and trade halted in Valaris, thus making them bankrupt. If we're looking time-wise, this would mean that Grandpappy or Great-Grandpappy Archeron have died very, very young, but I still think it's possible. But I am convinced that Papa Archeron was the master of the spice trade in Prithian.
Or their lineage was, yes.
Or their lineage was, yes.
That would be incredible. And honestly, I'm subscribing to this so hard because I feel like while he was not a good papa, I feel like his resurgence in Akawar is so, once again, just like House of Sky and Breath, so underappreciated by so many people because he liked to whittle wooden figurines. He came back in the end. And is that not all that matters?
I have something small to add to this, a question, if you will. Is it possible, too, that, when Tamlin asked Feyre, like, your mother didn't tell you anything about us, that it's because he knew, like, that whole family was tied in with this trade, that they would have dealt with Fae a lot, and that's why he's like, why don't you know anything about us?
Yes.
Very true. I've always heard that conversation more on their witches.
The mom being
Yeah, but it could go either way.
Yeah. I like it.
I
think the timeline makes sense.
I just feel like it's very sus that every time...
Nicole, your Spice Watch is approved.
Yay! I just feel like it's so sus that every time they bring up spices in the Prithian world, Feyre and Nesta are immediately like, oh, I remember Papa Archeron and when he used to think about spices and da-da-da-da. Like, there's just this constant connection between the two of them. And if I'm a writer, that's not on accident. Like, that is wild. And then the fact that the spice trade was notably stopped when Amarantha took power, they went into poverty. Mm-hmm. I think it's Amarantha's fucking fault.
Do you think
I'm saying?
Do you think that Sarah would ever like confirm or write that in now that like we're kind of past that point, or do you think this will always just live in like this happened in our hearts?
I think the
this
latter.
will always
I think
live
it happened in our hearts. Now, I do think that we'll get confirmation. I think we'll get confirmation about the Fae lineage, absolutely, but not necessarily this. Or if it is, then it's like kind of like a one-off line, and it's like, oh wait, what kind of sort of thing? But yeah.
If that happens, I'm getting a crown for myself. I'm getting a bottle of champagne, and I am spraying it everywhere.
A crown of stars, Nicole.
A crown of stars.
Friends,
spices
we
on
have
it.
literal
No, a crown
merch
of
that
spice.
has spice. Like, we have Spice Watch aprons because Nicole has such a following with this theory.
You will have a
So
crown.
unhinged.
A crown of spices, and I will make it for you.
Yes. Thank you. So we've kind of already briefly touched on this, so I'll just really quickly reiterate it. I definitely think that Koschei is going to be the next big bad. It's so canon to me that I almost feel silly like putting it here as a theory. But there's just too much setup in War and Silver Flames for him not to be the next big bad. Briellen is dead. He is still on a mission to free himself from the lake, and Vasa seems to be eluding him now, because at the very end he's like, I'm waiting for Vasa. And it's been quite some time, like over a year and a half now, that she has not gone back when it was supposed to be temporary. And then, of course, we already discussed how Elaine saw a box of black stone and the Russian folklore surrounding that with Koschei. So I'll kind of skip over all of that. But back to what might be under Ramiel. Or just about Ramiel in general, I think that the Onyx monolith atop Ramiel is a word gate. I know that's another popular theory, or a portal that the Asteri put there. I also, like I said earlier, think that there's a palace underneath Ramiel too. We know that it's where the Daglin used to keep the Dread Trove before Thea stole them from there. And I think there's just got to be so much more to it. It's too big of a mystery, and I think that the answer will be a major plot point in an upcoming book, whether that is directly tied to Koschei or not. So, yes.
Agreed.
We're going underground.
Going underground. Another one, kind of shifting gears here to Mor and Eris, and kind of like, I'll say the big secret between them that we get a little hints of from Eris, is that I believe that Eris refused to touch Mor when she was left in the Autumn Court because there was major magic at play there. If he touched her, even just to try to help her there would have been some kind of magical bond, or even like a magical bargain that would trap her to this life with him as his wife, or she'd become, for lack of a better word, property of the Autumn Court. And he knew that she didn't want to marry him. I think maybe he even knows her secret of preferring females, and he didn't want her to become like his mother, forced into a marriage she didn't want to be in. And even though it seemed cruel, he had to leave her there so the magic would not bind her to him there. I also think he anonymously sent word to the Night Court to come and help her, because Azriel does go and find her. It is hours later, but he does come and find her. We do know that Eris anonymously, I can't say that word, told Tamlin of Lucien's escape so he could help Lucien as he escaped to the Spring Court. To this day, Lucien, and I think even Tamlin, don't know it was Eris who helped his little half-brother escape. So I think he used that exact same method to tell the Night Court slash Azriel to come and help Mor there. So, and while I'm talking about Mor, again, another super popular theory here, I believe she and Emery will definitely end up together, and this will lead to Mor telling the Inner Circle about her secret there, because she doesn't want to hide this love and her new partner. There's a line in Silver Flames chapter 56 where Emery is watching Mor and comments on how beautiful she is and that she never comes to Windhaven anymore, and then Emery blushes, and it just really seems like she has a crush on Mor. And I just think also it'd be poetic for Mor to end up with Nesta's best friend, considering all the beef that she and Nesta have had throughout the series. So
Ironic poetry.
yes, ironic poetry. Yes.
Yes. I have a question about, not to backtrack, but you said magic. I don't know, because I haven't heard this theory. I'm not sure if it's one that you came up with or if it's one that you saw. is it like special autumn court magic, or is it magic that I'm forgetting exists in this book?
Neither or, and it was something that I
Okay.
had just kind of been thinking of too, because it's like I think that there's a real reason why Eris did not touch her, did not help her, and he's very much
absolutely.
like, you should ask her that kind of thing. Now I don't know if Mor herself knows. He does say something like, I think that she finally does know, and so I do think that it is maybe not necessarily autumn court magic, but there is some kind of, I'll call it betrothal magic at play there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all for Team Eris being like a mini Reese. I
Yes.
think 100% we're gonna get his version of things, and then we'll get the chapter 54, if you will, of Eris. And big fan, 100%. I'm like, am I forgetting something about magic?
No, that's me just being like,
Or-
I think there's some kind of, I'll call it betrothal magic at play.
yeah. Okay, big fan. I like that.
Yes.
Hi,
Ooh, me.
Daniel.
First of all, I'm absolutely going to start using the word anonymous. Second of all,
Anonymously.
I'm actually
And an enemy.
jump off of both Nicole and Lexi's theories because I just put like things together just right now. Okay, so Koschei, right, speaks on the wind. We
Yep.
were introduced to Meryl, a gorgeous priestess, like shockingly beautiful, and that always means that they're going to be important.
Exactly.
Who also seems to be a descendant of the Western Wind, I believe. She speaks on the wind. So there's theories there that Koschei and Meryl are in connection.
Yes.
What if instead of keeping his, egg box under Ramiel, it's kept in the library?
Oh, wait.
It's right in the heart of the Night Court. He has an agent there. I just put this together right now because of Nicole.
I love
I'm
this.
writing
There's-
this down right now.
Write it down. Write it down. Write it down.
Total credit to Nicole here. I never would have put this together until now. But yeah, I think Amron, I'm pulling shit out of my ass, which is a horrible statement. But like, I remember Amron and Nesta talking about how the heart of the house was brought to life by Nesta. But she was like, originally what they thought was this energy and ambience that they connected to Reaxis. Like
Yeah.
there's something, there's an older magic to this library, something there.
It's sentient.
Yeah, the house is sentient, and then Nesta kind of just like gave it the oomph it needed to like start
Yeah.
manipulating things and gaslighting her, which I thought was really funny. So I'm thinking like, I'm not saying the heart is directly Koschei's egg. There's no like cool way to call
No,
it that.
I love it. That's forever and always. I don't care what she writes it in as. I will be reading and referring to it as the egg.
Yes, the Koschei's egg of doom. Like
Yeah,
it's a magical power source. It's something. It's clearly a life force that Nesta could have accidentally manipulated.
Yeah.
So I think that's one. Just to go then to go to Lexi's thing. There are massive theories that Mor's ability isn't truth. It's technically reality warping.
Yep.
It's deciding what truth is. So following all the events of her torture, she's dumped there. If her magic was running wild because she had been harmed and Eris touched her and she felt, oh shit, I'm now bound to him, it might have made it a reality. So it could have been something like that.
And it's her
There's
having
this-
to like kind of come to terms with her own magic. I love that.
Yes.
See, I need things to make sense with this
Betrothal
stupid
magic.
power of
Yeah.
truth. Like, I'm sorry.
No. It's driving me insane, but the thing that I've noticed is that people rush to agree with her. Like almost supernaturally. Whenever she makes a statement, people will almost, Azriel especially, of course.
I'm so glad you brought Azriel up. I was hoping you'd talk about him.
No, I don't have theories about him. I think the dude sucks.
I'll also say, too, that Nesta seems to be one of the very few people who does not jump on the Mor train. And, of
train.
course, we do
Yeah.
have our own reasons why. But what if it's because Nesta is immune to her power like she has been immune to other powers?
Yes.
No, that's I'm on that train. Other theories have got. I mean, it's not so much a theory. Ellie fucking annihilated anything I could add to evil Elaine. I want evil Elaine. I had nothing to support that other than my own delusion. Now I have something to support it. So thank you, Ellie.
Incredible.
It's not so much a theory, but like I think it's fairly obvious that Lucien is going to be the High Lord. It's I don't know if there's a guarantee that a High Lord's son will be the heir. I think it can shift.
Melissa's face is how I'm feeling about that statement too. Just
No, I'm thinking, I have a theory on him, and I'm thinking about how this works into that. And it does.
Of the day court.
Yeah.
But the thing that I just noticed is looking back at the beginning, at the first couple, I almost said movies, first couple books, when the glamour is ripped away, both Tamlin and Lucien have a similar aura to what Feyre notices. That aura doesn't belong to every Fey creature. It just seems to be the High Lords who have this sort of mask over their power. So Lucien's displaying a similar nimbus of light that both Rhys and Tamlin are showing. And so I think he thinks that... So I think that his brothers, half-brothers, thought that like he was a potential autumn heir, and that's what led to his issues with that. But in reality, he's the day heir.
Yep.
Finally, this isn't like... I don't think it's going to go anywhere with this, and it sucks, but there were a lot of theories that the gods that Aelin banished to some random like Valg world, essentially some demon-infested world, were going to be the big bad in a later series. They're going to be like really jaded bad guys, and I would have loved that. I think it's unlikely, especially if the Terrasin time travel stuff ends up being legit. But I also liked the concept that I popped up this theory a little while ago of like humans aren't native to Prythian. And when Feyre first sees the tapestry of the creation of Prythian, the cauldron, the hands, she notices word marks in the golden liquid that is poured out. She has strange symbols. It's freaking word marks. It's fucking word marks. If it's not word marks, I'm gonna be pissed.
No, it is. That's what it is.
And she says like, oh, humans are so irrelevant to these people that they don't include them in the tapestry. It's like, no, at the creation of Prythian, there weren't humans. And they came from...
Did the Asteri bring them over so that the Fae could rule over the humans? Yeah. So because they wanted to ensure that the Fae had somebody to busy themselves with there. Yes.
Exactly.
And that's where Highburn gets it. No, I'm just kidding.
And then we have confirmation. The mother, Erd, and
Word.
Potentially the triple-faced goddess on Terrasin are all the same goddess. But the mother has three faces. It's a offhanded fucking comment from Amren of when Nesta's doing the divination stuff. It's like 3 bones or 3 stones for the 3 faces and 4 bones because I don't even remember why. I'm like, motherfucker, like really, like. So there were beliefs that like the Illyrian tattoo the Illyrian tattoos are word marks as well for like luck and fortune and all that, and it was really led to this belief that Aelin was going to regain her power by shattering the lock between worlds and step into it, and even if she didn't regain her powers, she wasn't like fire breathing bitch goddess, she still would have been probably the most knowledgeable person on any of the 3 planets with knowledge of word marks. So I really wanted to see her pop up again, and there's a clear connection between all the word mark stuff.
Also, there is that big rumor that's been floating around that the next series that Sarah J. Maas works on is called Twilight of the Gods or something along those lines. Now, if I understand correctly, the theory or the rumor about this came around from her having a Pinterest board title called Twilight of the Gods. She ended up deleting it, but all of her previous Pinterest board titles were titles of books and book series and such. So that's where people put those 2 and 2 together. So you never know, Daniel. It could end up being the case there eventually.
Tangent there, Lexi. Meryl's eye color is described as a twilight sky.
I love Meryl.
So Nicole and I have been thinking recently, it's like, we think that she's going to come into play, especially with all of her things about, the 26 realms and blah, 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 blah. And then Rhys in his study has a thing of the planets and whatnot that we do actually see very similarly with the Autumn King in Crescent City. And so it's like, what if in a later book, Meryl comes and helps Rhys and co, maybe after Bryce just drops from the sky and it's like, hey, Meryl, you know something about these things. Maybe we should talk to you. And she ends up being the larger character.
Yes. Well, okay, so she says that she's a descendant of Rabith, the Lord of the Western Wind. In this recent episode where we covered this, I went on a huge internet deep dive of like, is there anything on Rabith? Because normally SJM, when she names something, it normally means something in Hebrew or there's some kind of connection to Norse mythology. I could not find jack shit on Rabith, Rabo, like nothing even close to it. But then I looked up like Western Wind. I think the only thing I found was that in the Bible, Western Wind typically means like disciple or miracles are happening or stuff like that. So maybe I have no idea. I also found it's a song of a... in a while.
Sorry.
No, that was exactly...
culture references. I had to insert something.
That was so well timed and so exactly what this episode needed. Thank you.
Oh my God.
I need to watch Princess Diaries again.
So excited.
I know. Oh my gosh, I know.
I'm so sorry, Nicole.
that's-
Please keep going.
Oh no, that was it. That was the end. That was the perfect little mwah on top. I loved it.
All right, Melissa, let's hear yours.
All right. Okay, so my first theory is my favorite, but it tends to be the most divisive depending on your feelings towards Lucien. I want his villain arc so badly, and I see the perfect opportunity for it currently. In Akawar, Rhys explains that the mating bond can be rejected by one of the parties in question. He also says that it's usually refused by women since men tend to feel it on more of a primal level, and if it does, it usually drives the men mad and generally will end in the death of someone. This conversation cannot be anything but foreshadowing, in my humble opinion. It is so out of pocket, and it is like immediately they move on. What is the point of having that in there if it doesn't come back around? And here is where I present it coming back around. I will die on the hill that Elaine is going to reject the mating bond with Lucien. She's already clearly not interested in him. And he's off on the island of misfit toys with Jurian and Vasa, aka the perfect setup for him to get all riled up. Who would she break the mating bond, you ask? Well, the answer is more complex, and I will get into that in a next theory. However, I do think that if it's not the person she ends up with, she'll use someone just to get the message across to Lucien, and that person will be Azriel. I'm going to say right now, I'm not endgame of Elaine and Azriel. I think the three sisters ending up with the three brothers would be too cliche. I wouldn't hate it, but that's not what I don't want that, like, at the end of the day. So knowing that, we know Azriel's interested in her because of the bonus chapter in Akasif. And I think Elaine will be sick of Lucien coming around, so she'll just capitalize on this attraction and make Lucien jealous and sending a clear message that she doesn't want him. Like, I'm rejecting this. I rebuke thee in the name of the Lord. This is done. Exactly. This will send him into a furious rage, pointed initially at Azriel, but eventually spreading to the entire inner circle. There will be a showdown between Azriel and Lucien, in which case Lucien has no shot, in my opinion.
I agree. I actually very much agree. Yes.
But I don't think Azriel will kill him. I think he's just gonna like beat him so bad, and then just to the point where he's like little boy, go home. Like I don't think that, because Lucien won't be a villain.
Coming back as a nemesis situation, if you ask me.
Quite literally.
That's a lot of faith in Azriel actually being able to do something right for once.
This is his also redemption for you. Daniel, I'm predicting this being his redemption for you as well. This is twofold.
We can start. Please, let's start a betting pool among your podcasts. Like,
We're so good at bets. We're so good at bets. Yes. We'll all have to have some bets.
I'm honestly gonna err on no. I don't think he'll ever recover for you. That's my bet.
Spy, and you can attack like blindsided with a bolt to the chest like 4 times, my dude.
But I actually think the theory that you brought up, Daniel, of him being High Lord plays into this so well, because then him becoming High Lord officially and like recognized as one, yet being evil, every villain is lemons. I think.
Are you saying he's
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh
yes.
my God.
Like I don't have an ending on how I think. Like I ultimately see him either dying or, I don't know, like being cast off and just kind of like written off. And I love Lucien, but I'm okay with that ending because the way we need a good villain after Briallen. Briallen was not a good villain. We need a good one, and we're so invested in Lucien that it would be so heartbreaking yet amazing to have a villain that we have gotten like throughout this entire story that we didn't. She's pulling a reverse Rhys on us, like someone we thought was great and then turns out to be the ultimate big bad, if you will. But I see Koschei being more of the big bad, so maybe Lucien somehow like aids him in his, like, with his tail between his legs, trying to be a big boy after getting his butt whooped by Azriel. I could
totally
see that.
I just want more for Lucien than him just getting beaten the shit out of by a bunch of dudes. Like, he got...
I know.
Like, his character arc needs to be like him standing up to Tamlin or an equivalent to Tamlin. Are we sure Asriel could beat Lucien?
Yes.
Yes.
If Lucien had High Lord powers?
Yes.
Yeah, we're sure.
Yeah. He's been
Why?
training, and he's a warrior, and he's got 7 siphons, you know? And I know that I know that Lucien has his power, but
He walked into a room and took a crossbow bolt to the chest. Did any of the 7 siphons help with that?
no, but that's a
Daniel,
whole other issue with
7.
Durian right there, which we're not even going to get into. Azrael and the ash arrows, like, they're a magnet to him. And guess what? He's still alive after all of that.
That is a fair point.
7.
I don't-
Count them. 7 siphons.
Marshmallows. Oh.
I'm making it relatable. But
No,
yes.
God, the way my relationship with Azrael is that scene with frickin' Patrick and Manta Man says,
Yeah.
you are a spy. Yes. And if you're a spy, then that means
No.
you know what's going on. Yes. So you know that the enemy's gonna attack us. No, we got blindsided.
That's
Fucker.
literally Azrael in a nutshell. And oh my gosh, now I want to steal that meme and post it online. But I know all the Azraels will come after me. And it's like, no, it's
you have my
Daniel's
permission.
fault.
Tag me and collaborate with me.
Do it anyways. Also, I just want to, for the sake of clarity, it's Man Ray, not Manta
Yeah.
Man. But it's
I
okay.
couldn't remember. Yeah. Oh my god. That show is
Wow.
actually
Needed to make sure
read
everyone
into
was
my
on the same
psyche.
page.
What a Weenie Hut Jr. with that one. Just
Fun
kidding.
fact,
All right.
I definitely watched the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, not just last night, but the last 2 nights in a row because I kept falling asleep and I was so sad because I just wanted to watch the movie, so I've been rewatching it. My husband's like, oh my god, we're watching this again.
Ellie, are you about to
Anytime-
say? Oh, go
Anytime
ahead.
I'm thirsty, I'm literally like, Show City.
I think of the I need it moment where he's
I
standing
need it.
With the pinkies up.
Yep. Oh man, we're getting delusional here.
Or whenever
I know.
Whenever I meet a bunch of people, if they on the off chance someone recognizes me in public, all I think about is the scene where Patrick comes home to his rock and there's like a bunch of eyes poking out. And he's like,
Oh man.
I love that. Wow, you really pulled one out of the vault there. I'd forgotten about that one.
I think I've seen every episode.
I
think
have. I just forgot.
No, it's in there. It's
There's
embedded
not
in-
enough room up here for all of the references that I have, so some
So
get
serious.
pushed to the
No,
back.
SpongeBob.
It's just fine dining and breathing up here.
Exactly. All right, so theory number 2, which kind of ties into Elaine. I want Elaine to end up in the spring court. And this isn't news. I don't think this is big news either, but this is what I want for Elaine. Again, ties back up to who I think she'll end up with. Timmy Tam. Both of them have, in my opinion, rejected mating bonds, and that goes into my third theory. But Elaine just wants someone to love and protect her the way Nesta has done her entire life. Tamlin just wants someone to love and protect and someone who will be loyal to him in his court. That is Elaine, the definition of her in the Webster's Dictionary. Elaine equals flower. What are there plenty of in the spring court, you ask? Yes, flowers.
Depression.
Exactly. And she's depressed in Akawar. So you're just proving my point. No, I'm just kidding.
You're the one who introduced me to the theory. I like it.
Yeah. Plus, this is my new addition to this one though. I saw a separate theory that ties into this one and we all know that the ACOTAR book was marketed as the Beauty and the Beast retelling, right? And Tamlin and his court, however, Tamlin and his court fit that now, like currently at where we are at in Akasif, way more than it did in ACOTAR originally. What if Feyre isn't our Belle in this story, but she's actually the enchantress who, quote-unquote, ruined Tamlin because he was too selfish and self-absorbed. Since Akawar, he has been exclusively in his beast form. His court is run down, and even his estate is a mess. This is the beginning of Beauty and the Beast right here. So my thing is, what if Elaine is actually the Belle in this retelling? and she ends up being the one to save him and Tamlin, or like him in the spring court. And that would be a really really fun subplot for me if that ends up being true.
Elaine is like solely known for her beauty, and is that not the definition of belle?
Exactly.
Fun little tidbit.
If I'm not mistaken, belle is French for beauty. So
I really like this idea that now I will say I'm not sold on the idea of Elaine ending up with Tamlin just because of Tamlin's issues and past with Thera, but I love this concept of her being the actual beauty of the Beauty and the Beast story and Thera being the enchantress. Like that is such a cool twist on a twist that we already got, and I love that concept so much.
Yes. And I actually think I might have some answers for you on Tamlin in my next theory. And I don't know if you guys saw this. This reel ended up popping off for us. But I think that Tamlin and Amarantha might have been mates. And this is
we talked about this on our podcast too, because it was like, oh my God, this is such a cool theory. And I love it so much. So sorry, go ahead. I'm too excited.
No, you're fine.
I'm too excited.
Like, just to like a quick recap, because I don't think I need to go into it too much, but like the fact that she knew his family like way before, she wanted him. And my whole thing with this is I think he rejected the mating bond because he wanted to be good. He didn't want his mate to be this evil version of Ariel that like, well, I just say that because she has red hair. That's no other ties. But like, he didn't want her to be his mate. And so he poured everything into Feyre. And while that does not excuse his behavior, to me it makes sense. It makes sense why his blinders were on. He was just trying to make it work so badly because his mate, he rejected the bond, so he needed something. And she was the one to save them all from under the mountain and defeat his evil mate that he rejected. And so he was just blind to how she was actually doing. Again, does not excuse the fact that he didn't help her more, but it just is a little bit more justifiable in my opinion. And if that ends up being like what actually happened, it's not an excuse, but I would be open to a redemption arc for him because it would just give a little bit more validity to him ignoring her the way that he did and forcing everything on her the way that he did, because again, for the 8,000th time, it wasn't okay, but at least it makes sense. And it's not just him being like a crap person. At least there's like some reasoning behind it. And that is where I'll get off my soapbox. But that is my thought process on that one.
I like that one. I like that a lot. Yep. Yes, that makes, I'll say, the most sense for, I do, yes. I want something for Tamlin at the end of all this. Like we went on too much of a journey with his character, and I don't want to just end up being in Feyre's point of view where it's just like, you suck. Yeah. Move on. And it's like,
exactly.
These characters are 3-dimensional. Should be 3-dimensional. So yeah.
And like, he made really poor decisions. No excuses. I don't care who his mate was, whatever. No excuses for the way he acted at the High Lords meeting. Like, that is just him being a little F-boy. Like, honest, like, it was just him making a really poor decision. But we liked him in the beginning. Like, we thought he was endgame in book 1. And so for his story to just end the way that it is now, with him being depressed and in beast form, and everyone in the Spring Court is suffering from the way that he's responding to this too. Like, that's just sad. Like, we need something more from that, and that's where I think Elaine would be a good fit for it, because Elaine, and I know, Nicole, you mentioned earlier that you gave Elaine so much crap, and then you've kind of gone back on that. I have not gotten to that point yet. She is vanilla to me. If vanilla was a person, it's Elaine. And so for her to actually do something, that would be cool. And this would be, it's where she fits in.
Elaine is definitely the type of person who, like, after you look at because like the first 4 times I read the series, I was like, I fucking cannot stand Elaine. She was the person who, when Feyre was like, oh my gosh, like we're poor, Elaine was like, we're poor? What? Like, she was just described as like this dolt in the beginning, and I couldn't stand it. But then
potatoes not petunias.
Potatoes not petunias. As we got later in the series, it really shifted from this I'm not aware of my surroundings to I'm overly aware of my surroundings, where she is upwards against Asriel as you're better at secret keeping than Asriel, or oh, you're like more observant than Asriel. And I'm not
Really?
really. I'm not like super game for her and Asriel being together at the end. I really like the idea of him and Gwen, so I'm a little off on that.
I just don't want him to be happy.
Won't be.
See,
It's
meanwhile, I'm like, I
Asriel.
just want everyone to be happy. Care who they all end up with, just be happy.
But I definitely think that with
Suffer as I have suffered reading your fucking POV.
but I do think that when it comes to Tamlin himself, when I look at the way he's described by multiple characters on the page, I don't see a redemption arc coming for him that's not like I'm going to say a peaceful redemption, where it's like him just like something good happens to Tamlin, but like from afar, and it's like off with your life, sir. Like go have fun. Versus him
Or
coming
something
back
like
into the fray.
I'll call it the oh my gosh, hold on, what's his name in Lord of the Rings, the little evil guy? I can't believe I just blinked on
Smeagol?
Smeagol, yeah. Gollum, yeah, the Gollum effect. Excuse me. Yeah. Okay, so then there's that Gollum effect where it's like, why is this character still around? Why is this character still around? And then they end up having a big part in the end game too, and we needed that character in the end. Now, I do think we kind of got that with Akawar, and if that had been the end of his story, then it's like, okay, great, I could have been good with that. And then it just really went downhill. So and there's so many loose ends, Baron still wants his territory, right? Like that did not go away with Brielle going away. So there's too many loose ends, and the Spring Court is too big of a player, and it can't just not exist in the way that it's not existing right now. It can't,
Yeah, and I actually would be so okay with another ending, or kind of like you said, like an off-page ending for him, like a mention of, oh, and Tamlin found someone and he's happy and went to the other continent. Like I'd be fine with that. I'm not Team Tamlin or
live
like
on a farm upstate.
like I don't need him to have this like grand redemption arc or anything. I would, but if it ends up coming to light that something, just like we get more perspective on why he acted the way that he did in Mist and Fury, I would be a little bit more open to something bigger. But even if we get that, like you said, I'm okay with Farm Upstate New York. Like that's fine. I just need something. I need the Spring Court to be okay. I need the people of the Spring Court to be okay. And I just need him to not...
Alice. Where's our girl Alice?
Alice needs to be okay.
My grandmother Willow, Alice, she needs to be fine.
Just
But,
around
Exactly. I just need his story to be like wrapped up at this point.
I
Like
agree.
it's either like a grand redemption or at least just like make him okay and then stop referencing him. Like,
just
This
go
dude
to
is tired.
exactly.
yeah.
My issue with him is that like I'd stopped caring. Like after his whole like be happy Pharaoh was really great, really sweet. I stopped kind of giving a shit about his character, and then he's out there hunting through the Spring Court. It's like dude's just going through it, and
my issue
that's
with
what we have
him
therapists for. Like I don't like the thought of Elaine ending up with Tamlin, because I think his whole issue is that he is too much for his partners, for like a woman. Like I don't.
He needs help.
Yeah,
Desperately.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yes.
Elaine might want it, but it's all fine and dandy until Nesta and Feyre are kept away from Elaine because Tamlin's
that's
pissed
true.
at something. They're gonna burn that fucking court to the ground if they think
That's
Tamlin's
so
gonna have
true.
Elaine, which I might be down
I was
for.
gonna say that sounds right up your alley, Daniel.
Yeah.
That actually fits with revenge.
Yes, I actually really do. I love the idea of it, and especially like where it's coming from with needing these loose ends wrapped up and wanting these characters to see more from them in that way there. Yep.
Yeah. And that is all that I have, unless anyone has any last minute comments. But I think that's all.
Ethan.
There we go.
This was fun.
Honestly,
this is so much fun.
Yes.
Great.
This was so much fun. Thank you,
Agreed.
everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Nicole, Lexi, Daniel, for coming. This has been, like you said, a blast. And we will see everyone next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.